Oh, he believes a lot of wild things. One of them is transgender surgery for people who are under 13.
So for those out there who are wondering, aren't there something else you could be doing or doesn't seem to impact you in your life? This is what it means to show empathy. This is what it means to be welcoming.
Changed the Minnesota state flag to make it look like the Somali flag. You haven't seen that?
But our current flag is problematic. I think we all know that. We've evolved into a more diverse state, and I think it's more reflective.
Tim Walz has this strange knack for making stories about UFOs sound as ordinary to Joe Rogan as talking about the weather. The moment Walz switches gears from politician to living plot twist, Rogan gets all the material he needs to roast him like a slab of Texas BBQ elk. Politics takes a backseat fast. Suddenly, it feels like an unscripted reality show is unfolding right in Minnesota. Joe picks up on the perfect storm of chaos, comedy, and wild conspiracy energy. Trust me, watching this kind of spectacle practically demands a bucket of popcorn.
Think about Walz's descriptions of his military career, because there's some issues there that people have. I don't know if he flat out ever said that he served in Afghanistan, but he certainly didn't dissuade people from saying that he was, when they were saying he didn't correct them.
Right.
There was things
he didn't.
Also, if you're having fun with this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. The support you'll get might just amaze you. Over the years, Joe Rogan has seen some pretty unbelievable stuff, from UFO sightings and politicians pretending to know what elk meat tastes like, to self-proclaimed experts promising kale smoothies can solve everything from heartbreak to the flu. But nothing quite caught him off guard like Tim Walz, a politician who somehow manages to turn Minnesota into the backdrop of a quirky, low-budget sitcom.
That Tim Walz cocksucker, if that guy got into power, like if Kamala died and Tim Walz, Tampon Tim, was our president, you know how crazy this country would be? That weirdo who puts tampons in the boys' room, and what about our joy? Like, he's a complete pathological liar. Like a complete liar. Lied about being in Tiananmen Square, lied about being a fucking head coach of a football.
When Rogan pulled the curtain back, there wasn't some brilliant mastermind waiting behind it. What he found looked more like a clown at a state fair juggling pure chaos. Tim Walz has somehow mastered the art of looking endlessly occupied while getting almost nothing done. It's the political version of hitting the gym and leaving without a single muscle gained. Plenty of sweat, zero results. Rogan noticed that every time Walz tried to put on a display of leadership, it felt less like a confident commander and more like a substitute teacher watching the classroom unravel in record time. Minnesota didn't get a bold leader that day, but they got the equivalent of a parent fumbling with the TV remote, hoping something finally works.
A video of Tim Walz doing the exact same thing.
Right.
Exact same thing. And he said, of course, it's a Nazi salute. He said that.
Right.
We spent 3 days debating, having them trying to debate that President Musk gave a Nazi salute. Of course he did. But that is a distraction.
This is how crazy things have gotten. Like,
It's
The trouble with Walz is that he doesn't exactly do subtle. He carries himself like he's cracked the code to running the nation. But as Joe's pointed out, most of his grand plans sound like they were lifted straight off a 2003 motivational calendar. They only have that soothing ring when you're half asleep in a dentist's chair. With his classic, "Are we really doing this?" tone, the same one he saves for flat earth debates, Rogan managed to spotlight just how ridiculous it all was without even sounding mean.
interviews and there's no pushback. There's no like, excuse me, I didn't go to Iraq. Right.
Exactly.
And I retired, as my unit was deploying. And so
we retired a couple months before.
A couple months before,
right?
Yes,
what is the whole
but those
story
guys know
behind
they know that they're going right. It's not like they suddenly get a paper, on one day. There's a build up to that, and they're aware of it. And so, even his personnel were saying, "Look, we all knew we were going. He knew he was going." Now, okay,
Considering that most Americans wouldn't recognize Walz even if he stood in a police lineup, he's almost like the mystery character of U.S. politics. Yet there he is, acting as if he's running for class president in a high school play. The whole thing was so over the top that Joe couldn't help but call it out. There's no secret mastermind hiding under those layers. Just a guy gripping a crayon sketch game plan, desperately trying to look like he belongs in the big leagues. Rogan's entire reaction came from peeling back the shiny exterior, only to realize that the surface itself was the glue holding everything together. Walz wasn't a hidden strategist. He was just cheerful. But once Joe saw that, the image of a steady leader quickly unraveled into someone who probably shouldn't be trusted near sharp objects. It was like peeling an onion and finding out it's just a spray-painted cabbage. Each story had its own ridiculous punchline. And Joe's favorite part? The way Walz talked about leadership like he was giving a TED Talk, while the final result looked more like a kindergarten art project. Messy, confusing, and unintentionally revolutionary.
He's 100% right with Tim Walz.
I know I'm doing something right when the Fox News crowd is all pitching at me like crazy. Like, I'm loving it.
That guy was almost the vice president of the United States.
Elon Musk was crying last week. Tim is being mean to me, you know, like, yeah.
I'm sure you've seen that thing where it shows Obama saying, I need a vice president that's dumber than me.
He may or may not have cognitive decline problems at his age, but at her age, she's just dumb.
Biden and
I think
Biden
I was saying that
I
on
need
your,
a vice
Imagine someone giving a speech on innovation while clutching a flip phone. That's exactly how ironic the whole thing feels. Walz struts around like he's rewriting history with every step he takes. But, as Joe points out, most of his time seems to be spent on something far less heroic, like updating food menus. Joe finds it hilarious how Walz tries to present Minnesota as the epicenter of some political awakening, when in truth, it's more like a testing ground for awkward town halls and never-ending dad jokes. To Joe, it's the same as watching someone run a lemonade stand with shaky math skills while truly believing they're commanding the Roman Empire. What makes it even funnier is how the people around him seem to go along with the illusion, probably because no one minds a little accidental power grab when it looks like around a political twister. And then comes Walz's greatest talent, turning nearly any moment into pure, unplanned comedy gold. Give him a national issue and it transforms into a blooper reel that refuses to be forgotten, like a clumsily wrapped present with no ribbon, no wrapping, and no clue how to open it. Joe puts it bluntly. Minnesota politics doesn't even resemble real governance anymore. It's like a reality show that flopped after one season. But just like a cartoon character who keeps bouncing back, no matter how many times he falls, Walz never seems to stay down. It's like watching someone slip on ice but somehow stay on their feet. You can't look away. You're not sure whether it's actual skill or just blind luck. Walz has this uncanny ability to dodge responsibility the way Neo dodges bullets in The Matrix, except instead of slick moves, he just keeps making questionable decisions. That's exactly the moment Rogan loves exposing the myth that Walz is some hidden mastermind. Joe likens him to an overly confident gym coach who can give long speeches about teamwork, but can't execute a single play himself. Walz might think he's playing chess, but as Joe points out, it's really just Candyland, and he's still losing. The deeper Rogan looked, the stranger it all became. He could see right through Walz's habit of talking endlessly, as if the sheer volume of words might make him sound smart. But Joe compared those speeches to the kind of motivational posters people hang on their walls. They sound inspiring for a second until you realize it's just a cat stuck in a tree.
more time. I mean, they were talking about cracking down on hate speech online. Like, that free speech is not hate speech. That Tim Walz guy was actually saying that.
I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
Hate speech.
The most astonishing part is how Walz actually managed to convince people he's full of empathy. Rogan pointed that out right away. Whenever Walz talks about being grounded, he sounds less like a sincere leader and more like a jittery marketing intern on their third cup of coffee. It doesn't feel real. Joe joked that this whole act has the energy of a stand-up routine with a strict 2-drink minimum. He compared Walz to a chatbot programmed to sprinkle in people-friendly phrases every few words, all while trying way too hard to seem like the everyman. Just when you think his awkwardness can't get any more intense, he pushes it even further. And whenever he proudly shows off some grand idea, it collapses faster than a flimsy lawn chair from the discount bin. Walz collects political blunders as if he thinks history will eventually applaud him for them. Spoiler alert, it won't. Rogan didn't just highlight Walz's political goals, he nailed his personality too. When Walz walks into a room, the mood changes, not because people respect him, but because everyone braces for the accidental comedy routine that's about to unfold. Joe even said it reminded him of his first karaoke night, off-key, way too loud, but oddly confident. And even if you try not to, you end up laughing.
No. For the video of him taking down the Minnesota flag and he replaced it with the new flag that looks a lot like the Somali flag. Minnesota has a huge population of Somalis in it.
All right, ready. Whoa, wait a minute.
So he gets the flag, picks it up, and replaces it.
There, that's better.
Why is that better?
This is where the irony really lands. The funny part, Walz genuinely thinks he's doing great. While everyone else is watching a blooper reel, he's seeing a highlight reel. Joe joked that Walz's greatest skill might be living in an alternate universe where every flop magically turns into a win. In that little bubble, failure is basically a superpower, and somehow he manages to keep a straight face through it all. But Joe didn't stop there. He compared Walz to a surfer who never actually learned to balance, constantly chasing trends without ever riding the wave. Joe couldn't help but laugh at how Walz believes saying all the right buzzwords is the same thing as actually accomplishing something. If politics were karaoke, Walz would be the guy singing the wrong song with full confidence, hoping no one catches on. The way he reacts to criticism is the cherry on top. As Joe pointed out, every headline hits him like a cosmic insult. Instead of reflecting or adjusting, Walz doubles down with the confidence of someone who just read a map upside down, but insists he's going the right way. Joe summed it up perfectly. It's like watching a guy fix a broken sink with duct tape. You know it won't hold, but you can't help but admire the sheer effort.
In history.
It's so perfect.
Kamala saying, I need a vice president dumber than me. It's Walz. Men have tampons.
We have a lot of accomplishment. We haven't taken adequate credit for it, frankly. We got to do a better job of getting the word out about what we have accomplished and who did it.
You got to lose because we got to break this cycle. We're getting way.
Let's talk about the timeline because that's where things get even clearer. Joe's breakdown of Walz struck a chord with people craving something real. And yet what Walz delivers couldn't be further from authentic. Watching him try to pass off this shiny imitation is almost painful. Joe's reaction showed that Walz isn't just disconnected from reality. He's practically orbiting a different planet. It's not malicious. It's just hilariously absurd. He's the comic relief in what's supposed to be a serious political drama, all while genuinely believing he's the star of the show. The picture Rogan ultimately painted is unforgettable. A politician who stumbled into the spotlight by accident, assumed it was destiny, and has been winging it ever since. And people can't help but laugh. Rogan didn't simply poke fun at Walz. He uncovered an entire accidental comedy career with his over-the-top statements, corny dad joke policies, awful timing, and paper-thin confidence. Walz turned himself from a supposed leader into the main act of a blooper film. Minnesota was hoping for a governor. Instead, they got a sitcom. And thanks to Joe Rogan, the rest of us got front row seats to the show. Walz isn't suffering from bad luck. He's remarkably consistent. Every speech, every grand gesture, every attempt to look authoritative somehow lands straight in the blooper pile. It's almost impressive, like he spent his entire career proving that Minnesota politics can be unintentionally hilarious. You'd think he'd have learned by now, but no. He barrels ahead like someone proudly walking into the same glass door twice. His act is like a magician with only one trick, and it's not a good one. Minnesota still claps politely, but you can tell they're debating whether they should really keep being the warm-up act instead of the main show. And here's the kicker. Walz genuinely believes he's nailing it. While everyone else is watching bloopers, he's strutting around like he's collecting awards. Joe Rogan didn't need to dig up scandals or classified files to expose anything. All he had to do was hold up a mirror. What came back wasn't a villain or a schemer. It was something funnier. Tim Walz, the unintentional star of a never-ending political comedy that no one ever asked for.